Hey guys, it's MMA Vulture coming at you live with UFC Noche, O Malley Vs Dvalishvili, full weigh-in recap as well as my final predictions for this card. And we're going to go ahead and jump right into the first bout. And the first bout is Aoriqileng versus Raul Rojas Jr. And you can see them on the scales. They both came in at, on weight, as well as they both look healthy, they both look strong, and they both look ready to battle. As previously stated, I don't think anything really changes. I think Raul Rojas has the obvious grappling advantage, as well as I do think he has the slight edge over Aoriqileng in terms of striking. I think Aoriqileng does have some powerful shots. He could knock out Raul Rojas, but I don't really see that happening. I think Raul Rojas is going to end up overwhelming him, smothering him, and ultimately taking this to the ground because that's where he has the biggest advantage. So I think, honestly, I don't see this going the distance, and I see Raul Rojas either knocking him out, but to be honest, I think he submits him. I think he submits Aoriqileng. And that's my final prediction for this bout. And we're going to go ahead and jump over to the betting lines for this. As we can see, Raul Rojas money line is gone. I mean, you really can't use it at a negative 1,050. I don't really see any use for it. We can go ahead and look at the rounds props. And for over 1.5, it's sitting right at negative 104, and under 1.5 is sitting at negative 122. I do see this going under. I think Raul Rojas ends up submitting Aoriqileng in the first round. Could be early second round, but I really don't see Aoriqileng making it out of the first round. Something I do want to bring to your attention is Raul Rojas by submission. Last time I told you it was a negative 155, so it did go down a little bit lower because I do see that happening. I know Raul Rojas does want to finish. He doesn't want this to go the distance. So I do like the Raul Rojas Jr. to win by submission at negative 160. So that is a prop to look at. Moving right along, we have our next bout of the night, and it is Joshua Van versus Edgar Chairez. And this is going to be a great fight, I have a feeling. I think this is going to be a good fight. I think this is going to be a sleeper fight that a lot of people aren't expecting to be good. I think Joshua Van is going to beat Chairez. I think Joshua Van is an all-around better fighter in terms of striking. He's a top contender. He went against some of the highest prospects coming into UFC, so I really do see him as one of the top contenders. He has great striking, he has decent grappling, he's got power in his hands, same as Chairez, power in their hands, but I ultimately think that Joshua Van is just better, man. Chairez, he looks great on the scales, as you can see, but Joshua Van, man, look at him on the scales. He's looking healthy, he's looking strong, he's looking like he's gonna go in there and he's gonna beat up a Chairez. I really do see Joshua Van beating Chairez. He's the better striker. I wouldn't say he has the better grappling. I'm not really certain on that. I think Chairez might have a little bit of an upper hand, but Joshua Van is going to get it done. Joshua Van is a dog. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the betting lines on this. I want to show you some interesting lines coming into this. So we're going to go ahead, scroll down to it right here. Edgar Chairez versus Joshua Van. And the lines are sitting at plus 200 for Chairez and negative 245 for Joshua Van. I do see that having value. I could see Joshua Van being thrown in a parlay. Even money line's a little on the riskier side, but I think that putting him in a parlay is great value. Now let's go ahead and look at the over unders for this bout. And the over 1.5 is sitting right around negative 360, under plus 245, and then over 2.5 negative 200, under 2.5 rounds plus 145. I can see value in the over 1.5 or even the over 2.5. I wouldn't really pick the over 1.5. I like the over 2.5's value at -200. I do see this fight going the distance. I think both fighters are going to be throwing some shots. They're going to be grappling on the ground. I think Joshua Van is going to get the better of Chairez on the feet. I think there's going to be very little grappling exchanges. I think this is going to be a more of a fist fight, more of a boxing type of fight. I think Joshua Van has the advantage in terms of that, and that is ultimately why I'm going with Joshua Van to beat Edgar Chairez. Moving right along, we have the next fight of the night. Yazmin Yari, if I mispronounced that, I'm sorry, and Ketlen Souza. And you see these two looking jacked. Yazmin's looking absolutely yoked out of her mind, and Ketlen Souza as well. They both look good, healthy, and I'm excited for this fight. I think that this is going to be a great women's fight, and I see Yazmin getting the better of Ketlen Souza. Yazmin has elite striking. She has great grappling, and as you can see here, hold on, let me go ahead and move right back. We have Ketlen Souza at a +400, and we have Yazmin Yari sitting at a -535. So Yazmin, same thing with Rosas. It's going to be very hard to use her money line, seeing as it's not great value at a -535. I do see her winning, but that's a very steep price. And now we're going to go ahead and look at the rounds. Over 1.5, -835, no value in that really. Over 2.5, -360. I can see some people going ahead and using that. -360 isn't bad. I do see this fight going the full distance. I think Yazmin could end it early, but I really don't see that happening. I think this is, like I said, going to go to the decision. I think Yazmin's going to get the better of Ketlen Souza. I think that Yazmin is just on a whole, in a whole different league than Souza. I think Yazmin is a top contender with elite striking, great takedowns. She looks good in her grappling. She looks strong in the clinches. She just overall looks better than Ketlen Souza, and I am excited to see her fight. I really am. Moving right along, we have a banger fight. A banger fight that I am really, really excited for in Manuel Torres versus Ignacio Bahamondes. This could be fight of the night. This is one of many that could be fight of the night. I am very excited for this. I know Bahamondes is a good outside striker. He's good at maintaining his distance, but man, Manuel Torres is the opposite. He is great at closing the distance, landing powerful strikes. He's good on the ground. He's good on the feet. He's good everywhere. He's got 14 first-round finishes. He's got so many first-round finishes. He's got 7 submission finishes. He is a all-around great fighter. I am really excited to see him test Bahamondes' ground game. I think that's exactly where Torres is going to shine in this fight. I think he's going to take it to the ground. He's going to put all the pressure on Bahamondes, smother him, overwhelm him, and ultimately lay on top of him and get the better of him. I can see Manuel Torres ending this by submission. I think he's ultimately the better fighter, and I am very, very excited for this fight. And we're going to go ahead and look at the odds on this fight. So the odds on this fight is sitting right around a +110 for Bahamondes and a -130 for Manuel Torres. I see a lot of value going in on Manuel Torres. I do see him beating Bahamondes. I know Bahamondes is a great outside striker and great at maintaining distance, keeping them away. But I don't see that working against somebody like Manuel Torres, who is on a tear. He is looking dominant as ever. And we're going to go ahead and look at the rounds on this. Over 1.5 sitting at -125. Under 1.5 sitting at -107. I do see this going under. I think Manuel Torres is going to get Bahamondes out of there. I think he's going to test his grappling abilities, and ultimately Bahamondes doesn't have the greatest grappling compared to Torres. Torres has the obvious grappling advantage. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a prop that I have been eyeing, and it's Torres by submission. It was previously, if I'm not mistaken, at a +500. It is now sitting at a +400. I do see value in this because I see Torres ultimately taking the Bahamondes to the ground. I think this goes to the ground and Torres gets the submission over Bahamondes. And that is my final pick for this fight. Moving right along, we have Irene Aldana versus Norma Dumont. I apologize, botched that. And as we see, Irene Aldana looks good on the scales. She's looking healthy. She came in on weight, same with Dumont. But look at Dumont. I mean, she's looking even more jacked than Aldana, and Aldana's a little bit older. Norma Dumont's coming in. She's a great prospect, young prospect, and I think Norma Dumont has everything to take Irene Aldana down. I know Irene Aldana is a veteran. Her boxing looks good. Her grappling looks good. But I just see Norma Dumont as the better stylistic fighter. I think she has better grappling. I think she has better striking. I think we're going to see a whole new Norma Dumont. And a lot of people are going to be surprised because a lot of people are going with Irene Aldana, but I don't think Irene Aldana is going to have it this fight. I think she's going to be surprised with Norma striking as well as her grappling, and I am very excited for this fight. So we're going to go ahead and look at the odds. I apologize for this. And the odds are sitting right around -115 and -105. And I see value in Norma Dumont at -105, as well as, let's go ahead and look at the overs. I mean, there's not really much value, as you can see, a -1250 for over 1.5 rounds. No value in that. Over 2.5 rounds, -590. It's just not looking like there's very much value in going to decision, in this fight going to decision. I mean, it's sitting at a -400, so obviously everybody's thinking that this is going to end up going to decision, and I am right along with that. I do see this going to decision. I see Norma getting the better of Irene Aldana, maybe even laying on top of her, controlling her on the ground, and ultimately getting the 29-28 decision over Aldana. That's ultimately what I see happening here. And moving right along to the next bout of the night, we have Osbourne versus Ronaldo Rodriguez. And man, these two, for the weigh-in, they were going back and forth. Ronaldo Rodriguez is hilarious. He is hilarious. Him and Osbourne were shooting shots back and forth at each other. It was a great interview. Now let's go ahead and get to and Ronaldo. O'Day's looking strong as ever. We all know he has that one-punch power. He's strong, athletic. Now, moving right along to Ronaldo, he is a top prospect that everybody is eyeing. He is great fighter, great grappler, great striker. And I'm excited to see him go up against somebody in Osbourne that could ultimately knock him out. O'Day is a strong, powerful puncher, but ultimately I think Ronaldo is going to overwhelm him. He's going to overwhelm him. He's going to outstrike him, in my opinion. I think Osbourne does sometimes get a little bit wild, and I see Ronaldo taking full advantage of that. And just patient. He's a very patient striker, so I am looking forward to see him patiently outstriking Osbourne and just ultimately looking a lot better than Osbourne, who is wild, very, very wild sometimes. So we're gonna go ahead and look at the odds on these two. And the odds is sitting at +136 for Osbourne, and negative 162 for Ronaldo Rodriguez. And I do see value in Ronaldo Rodriguez. I think he's going to show everybody how bad Ode Osbourne really is. I think Ronaldo Rodriguez is a great all-around fighter and a top contender that we're going to be looking out for many years to come. He has a lot of the best abilities. And we're going to go ahead and look at the props on this fight. So over 1.5 for this fight, sitting right around negative 215. I do see this going over 1.5. Under 1.5, sitting at plus 155. I don't really see Ronaldo getting the finish over Ode Osbourne. I do see Osbourne maybe getting the finish over Ronaldo if he catches him. But ultimately, I do see this one as well going to the decision. I think that Ronaldo is going to get the better of Ode Osbourne for 2 out of the 3 rounds at least. I think Ronaldo is the better fighter. And a prop I do want to bring up to you guys is I think fight goes to decision, and it's sitting right around a plus 130, plus 140, somewhere along those lines. And I think there's a lot of value in that. I think that Ronaldo, I think his chin is slightly questionable, but I think that he's an all-around better fighter than Ode Osbourne. I don't see Ode Osbourne really catching him because of how patient and strategic Ronaldo is. So I have this one going to decision, and I have Ronaldo beating Ode via decision. Moving right along, we have the next bout of the night, and it is Esteban Ribovics versus Daniel Zellhuber. And this, again, is also another great fight. We have somebody in Esteban Ribovics who has power punches, who is a great striker. His grappling, it's decent. It's not bad. Now, moving along right to Daniel Zellhuber. He's another fighter that knows how to maintain distance, knows how to keep distance, knows how to maintain range, and not let them come close the distance. And I see that happening with Esteban Ribovics. I think Zellhuber is going to keep him at distance, strike him from the outside, which is what Zellhuber likes to do. And he has nasty kicks from the outside, nasty punches from the outside. I think Daniel Zellhuber is ultimately going to keep Esteban on the outside and outstrike him. Even out-grapple Esteban, I could see happening. I think Daniel Zellhuber is a great fighter in terms of boxing and grappling. I am excited to see this one because Esteban is also a great fighter in terms of boxing. He has great punches, powerful punches. He's also strategic. I will say sometimes he does throw from his hips. That is one thing that I did say in my previous video. He does sometimes throw from his hips, and I think Daniel Zellhuber, with his patient and calculated striking, could ultimately land a shot against Esteban, knocking him out. I think Daniel Zellhuber is ultimately the pick here. I think he is the better fighter and the more calculated and precise striker. Moving right along, we're going to go ahead and look at the odds on this, and Daniel Zellhuber is sitting at a negative 238. I see value in that. I think he beats Esteban Ribovics. I think Esteban can be wild sometimes, and I think Daniel Zellhuber knows exactly how to take advantage of somebody that is wild because he knows how to maintain distance. Like I said, he likes to strike from the outside. He likes to keep you at distance, and I just ultimately don't see Esteban being able to close the distance. And if he does, he's going to be very wild and leave open shots that I think Daniel Zellhuber is going to be able to take advantage of. And so I'm going to have to go with Daniel Zellhuber to beat Esteban. And like I said, he's sitting at a negative 238. But let's go ahead and look at some props that I wanted to show you guys right here. So Daniel Zellhuber over 1.5 is sitting right around negative 480. Under sitting at plus 310. Over 2.5 sitting at right around negative 240. Under 2.5 sitting at plus 170. I see value in the over 2.5. I do think that this could also go to decision, seeing as how Zellhuber fights. He is a very point fighter. He likes to stay on the outside, outstrike you, outpoint you, and just ultimately get the decision. And I see that happening in this fight. I think this could be a banger fight. It's going to be two guys throwing down. I really see this as a great fight. Ultimately, could even be fight of the night. Moving right along to another potential fight of the night is Diego Lopes versus Brian Ortega. And as we see, Diego Lopes always looking good, coming in on weight, strong, looks great. Brian Ortega, weird frame, but always looks great, comes in looking in shape. Some did question if he would actually make weight, seeing as he did look slightly pudgy, but he did end up making weight. And same as before, I think Diego Lopes is the better fighter. I think a lot of people think that Brian Ortega is going to have the grappling advantage. I think Diego Lopes will have the grappling advantage as well as the striking advantage. He for sure has a striking advantage. I think so many people are going to be surprised to see Diego Lopes out-grappling Brian Ortega, because Brian Ortega is known for his grappling abilities, but Diego Lopes is a dog. A lot of people that think that Brian Ortega is going to have the grappling advantage are wrong. Wrong. Diego Lopes has the grappling advantage. He is stronger in the clinch. He looks way better on the ground. I think ultimately he could end up submitting Brian Ortega or even knocking Brian Ortega out, seeing as he has the obvious striking advantage as well. Brian Ortega, his boxing is decent. I know, what's it called? I know a lot of people are saying that his striking, he's always up against the elites. His striking looks like dog shit. He has decent striking at best. Diego Lopes is going to show everybody that Brian Ortega is not that good in terms of grappling. And we're going to see that come tomorrow. Now, we're going to go ahead and switch over to the odds for this fight. Brian Ortega sitting at a plus 164 and Diego Lopes sitting at a negative 198. And Diego Lopes, as I said previously, is my lock of the night. I see great value in the negative 198. I think that he for sure beats Brian Ortega, and I am excited for this fight. Now we're going to go ahead and look at the rounds on this. Over 1.5 sitting at negative 245. Under sitting at plus 175. Over 2.5 sitting at negative 124, and under 2.5 sitting at negative 108. Ooh, this one's a tough one, man. I see this one being a back and forth battle between these two. It's going to be a great one. I ultimately see Diego Lopes getting the better of Brian Ortega. I do see value in the over 2.5 as well as the over 1.5 if you want to take less risks on this fight, seeing as these two are great fighters, and it could ultimately end early. Even though I don't really see this ending early, I see a lot of value in the overs. I think this goes to decision as well. I'm very excited for this. Something I do want to show you guys in terms of props is fight goes to distance at plus 110, as well as Lopes to win by knockout at plus 225. Previously, I think it was sitting a little bit higher at plus 250, as you can see here. I do think that Lopes could ultimately knock him out. Let's not forget that he does have knockout power. And Brian Ortega in one of the, I wouldn't say one of the worst. He's decent, but he gets hit a lot. So I do think that Diego Lopes could ultimately knock him out. But I'm going to go ahead and go with the Diego Lopes to win by decision. I think he outstrikes him and ultimately just all around looks better than Brian Ortega. And we're going to go ahead and jump to the co-main event of the evening in Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso. And we're going to go ahead and talk about this. The So we're going to talk about the previous two fights. Like I said before, Shevchenko looked a lot better than Alexa Grasso in both of the fights. She got Alexa Grasso to the ground multiple times. Her grappling, she had an obvious grappling advantage in my opinion. Now, Alexa Grasso did have the upper hand in terms of boxing as well as power shots. She looked noticeably stronger in her shots over Shevchenko. She did knock Shevchenko down, but ultimately I think Shevchenko is the better fighter. I think she's gonna smother Alexa Grasso. I think she's gonna take her to the ground, and she's gonna show that she has the better grappling as well as maintaining control. I think because in her previous fights against Alexa Grasso is a great scrambler, if you guys didn't know. She is hard to keep down on the floor. Shevchenko was having difficulties keeping her down, but I think that we're going to see a new and improved Shevchenko in the sense that maintaining control is going to be one of her top priorities. I think Shevchenko is going to be able to keep Alexa Grasso down, and I think we're going to see Shevchenko also pick and choose her shots a lot smarter than previously, where sometimes she was throwing a little bit wild. And I think overall, I think she's going to get the better of Alexa Grasso, who is looking jacked as well on the scales. She's looking good. She's looking healthy. She's looking ready to go to war for the third time, holding up this damn division. I'm excited to get this fight over with and get some new faces in here. Now, we're going to go ahead and jump to the lines. Alexa Grasso sitting at a -142, and my dog lock of the night, Valentina Shevchenko, sitting right at a +120. I think this is going to be a great, great fight, and I am ultimately excited for this one. And we're going to go ahead and look at the round props. The over 1.5 sitting at a -1250. The under sitting at a +575, over 2.5 sitting at a -590, under +375, over -360, under +245, under 4, over 4.5, -245, under 4.5, +175. So I think over 3.5 is that sweet spot. I think that -360 is a little steep, but I think it's a great addition to some parlays. I do see this going to decision. If you want to go ahead and do over 4.5, I know that's a lot riskier, sitting at -245, as well as fight goes to decision, sitting at -225, -200, around there. I think over 3.5 is the sweet spot. I think that it for sure goes over 3.5. I think this ultimately goes to decision. I think Valentina Shevchenko is going to look new and improved, and we're going to see a whole different Shevchenko, and I think she beats Alexa Grasso. And that is my pick for this bout. Moving right along to the main event of the evening, Merab Dvalishvili versus Sean Sugar O'Malley. And I'm hyped for this fight. I'm hyped. Merab is ultimately gonna get his ass kicked. He does have the obvious grappling advantage, as all of us know. But Sean, with his counter-punching abilities, with his phenomenal footwork, I see him beating Merab by knockout. I see him ending Merab come second, third round. I think ultimately Sean is gonna counter-punch him. I think he's gonna see it coming, and Merab is gonna get a little bit overzealous and try and push in, and I think ultimately Sean is going to catch him coming in, and I see Sean knocking him out. Truly, I think Merab, as I said before, he has been knocked down by Henry Cejudo, so he doesn't have the best chin. Ultimately, he did not get knocked out, so I guess he does have a decent chin, but I think Sean is going to put that chin to work, seeing as he has great elite level striking, as well as elite level counterpunching. He is a great counterpuncher, and that is going to be used in this fight. I'm telling you right now, it is going to be used in this fight. And we're going to go ahead and jump right over to the odds. And the odds for Merab sitting at plus 110 and Sean O'Malley sitting at a negative 130. And I see great value in that. I think Sean O'Malley is going to beat Merab. I do see Merab trying to take it to the ground early, but I think Sean O'Malley has been working on his takedown defense, and we're going to see how good his takedown defense is. And it is good, as we've seen in previous other fights. Yes, maybe he hasn't gone against the likes of Merab and his grappling, but I think Sean O'Malley has great takedown defense, and we're going to see that tested. And ultimately, Sean is going to come out with the W. I think he beats Merab. We're going to go ahead and look at the props here. I do want to show you guys some props on this one. So the over 1.5 sitting at negative 560, over 2.5 negative 286, over 3.5 negative 182. Now for this one, I do see some value coming in on the under 4.5. It's sitting right at plus 100. I do think that Sean O'Malley ends it early. I don't see this going to decision. I don't think that this is going to go to decision. I think Sean O'Malley is going to end up finding that shot on Merab and finding that chin, ultimately putting Merab's lights out. For the first time ever, we might see Merab's lights go out. And that is my pick for this card. I do think Sean O'Malley is going to knock him out. Now let's go ahead and look at the prop, because I do want to bring that prop up. O'Malley wins by knockout is a plus 150. It was previously sitting at a plus 125. I think that O'Malley's counter-punching abilities is going to show, and he's ultimately going to catch Merab coming in, being aggressive, and end it early. So I have O'Malley to win by knockout. That's ultimately my call for the main event of this card. I do think that O'Malley's the better all-around fighter, and we're going to see that. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.